very briefly Tonisha Tego, our lead on breakfast meetings and trade. Reed Pedro Afonso Livramento, Chief of Staff at the AFCFTA Secretariat. Siddiq Farouk El Toum, the Chief Executive Officer of the Africa Prosperity Network, and Stephanie Jetta, who is in charge of partnerships at the Africa Prosperity Network. Perhaps we, without further ado, let's start the program with I have some welcome remarks and an elaboration of the theme for this year's Africa Prosperity Dialogues from Siddiq El Toum. Siddiq.
Good morning, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to thank you for making the time and for being patient to coming to attend this press briefing. We in Africa Prosperity Network, we treasure and we value our partnership with the media, and we would like first to thank them for all the contribution they so far made in making the African Prosperity Dialogue successful in the past 2 rounds. And for us, the role of the media has been instrumental in taking this dialogue this far. So far, the dialogue has evolved, and we are moving towards more of active role of the media. So your presence here is really valued, and we appreciate it. We had a wonderful exchange with the media last week in the webinar, and during that, the role has been materialized and become more clear in shaping the dialogue itself. So we look for more engagements through this press briefing here, and we're looking at this partnership in a way that we help us shift the narrative from poverty reduction in Africa towards more of the pursuit of prosperity itself. This could not be successful unless we have a wonderful partnership with many actors that we cannot even say who they are, all of them at once. But among all those, we really treasure the biggest partners in this event, who are the Ghanaian people, who provided the hospitality and being the host for this event. And we also would like to thank our partners in the African Continental Trade Free Trade Area Secretariat for bearing with us through all this journey towards reaching this point so far. And among many people who are contributing to this, as I said, it is very difficult for us to mention the name of all our sponsors whom they contributed to so far for the involvement of African Prosperity Network and contributed to the dialogues that the network organized. This morning, we are sharing with you a full details of what to expect during the 3 days event. The wonderful team here, because of all of them, there's more of experts, there's more of team members who couldn't make it or busy trying to make things happen. But we got some of the team leads here to share with you shortly in a brief what to expect during the 3 days success. I take the opportunity to just introduce myself.
So thanks very much, Siddiq, for those welcome remarks there. And yes, for your introduction to our important partners as they have been to the Africa Prosperity Network through the previous 2 iterations of the Africa Prosperity Dialogues. This is the 3rd year of our cooperation with the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat. We're very pleased to be able to partner with you and further the dream, that ambition of a fully coherent integrated single market knit together that we all regard as our home, the whole continent, 55 member states. So joining us to tell us a little bit about that partnership with the AFCFTA and the importance of this year's theme, Rui Pedro Afonso Livramento, Chief of Staff, newly appointed at the AFCFTA Secretariat, previously with the Southern African Development Community. Your Excellency Livramento.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. APN Executive Council, the APN Executive Chairman, CEO of APN, distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for doing such a wonderful work on spelling out my very complicated name, Madam. I was, you said I was previously under SADC. No, I was previously under the Embassy of Angola in Ghana for 4 years. And now I'm, of course, back to our house or in our house now. I've been in this function for the past 5 months. Many of you I have known for quite a number of years. It's been 4 years that we've been working together. So I'm glad to now have a more closest relationship with APN and hope that our works are going to develop further in the next years to come. And hope also that we strengthen that partnership through the appropriate mechanisms. That being said, let me also, of course, welcome all of you under the name of His Excellency, the SG of the AFCFTA, Mr. Wamkele Mene. And it's my honor to welcome you to this pre-event briefing for the Africa Prosperity Dialogues 2025, organized by the Africa Prosperity Network in collaboration with the Secretariat. As this is one of the first major events of the year, it is fitting to wish you all a happy and prosperous 2025. As you may well know, the AFCFTA has made significant progress since its launch, with a solid institutional framework and growing trade under the Guided Trade Initiative. However, infrastructure remains a critical bottleneck in efficient transport and logistics. For example, add 30 to 40% to intra-African trade costs, hindering SMEs in particular. And to address this, the Secretariat is championing the establishment of trade aggregators to integrate SMEs into continental value chains, with Ghana, Egypt, Rwanda, Kenya, and South Africa leading the way. This year's dialogues under the theme Delivering Africa's Single Market Through Infrastructure, Invest, Connect, Integrate, are therefore timely. The theme emphasizes the crucial role of infrastructure development in realizing the AFCFTA's vision as a single integrated market for goods, services, and investments across the continent. These pillars have high priorities, and by emphasizing infrastructure development, investment mobilization, enhanced connectivity, and digital innovation, the APD plays an important role in advancing the AFCFTA's implementation and unlocking its vast potential to drive Africa's economic transformation. The AFCFTA Secretariat is committed to working with all stakeholders, including governments, the private sector, the development partners, to create an enabling environment for infrastructure development. And we believe that APD 2025 will generate valuable insights and momentum to accelerate progress towards our shared vision of a prosperous and integrated Africa. As we prepare for the event, we look forward to working closely with the media to build momentum and amplify the message that Africa is ready to deliver on its promise of economic transformation through collective action and strategic investments. Your role is crucial in shaping the narrative of Africa's prosperity and progress. I thank the Africa Prosperity Network for their continued collaboration and commitment to these dialogues, and encourage all stakeholders to join us in Accra for what promises to be a landmark event. Together, we can transform infrastructure into a driver of inclusive growth, connectivity, and integration across the continent. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you to Rui Pedro Afonso Livramento, Chief of Staff here at the AFCFTA Secretariat, for those words there. And as he said, the third year of this partnership with the Africa Prosperity Network. The first year, the APD 2023, taking a broad theme of from ambition to action, the ideas of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement and how to progress them. Last year, looking at delivering the single market in Africa through production, addition of value, and trading, producing some interesting outcomes which are presented at the Summit of Heads of State and Government in Addis Ababa last year. But this year, very much the hard themes. And we know examples of infrastructure, amazing examples of new infrastructure springing up around Africa, 42,000 megawatt dams in the Democratic Republic of Congo, almost as large dams in Ethiopia and the Horn of Africa. And a whole new capital city in Egypt. But of course, there's the legacy of crumbling infrastructure. And these are some of the ideas and themes that we will be looking at in the course of APD 2025. Now, to give us an idea of what exactly will be happening over our 3 days as we have the dialogues at the Accra International Conference Centre, it's Prince Moses, your favourite man, Director of the Communication Directorate at APN. Prince Moses.
Thank you very much, Nanaya. I hope my voice is not too loud. So I'll move that back a little. So the dialogues is going to kick off with an incredible set of series of meetings, which we call the breakfast meetings. I think Tonisha is going to give us a lowdown on that in a bit. So I won't harp on that for now. We will be welcomed by the chairperson of the Advisory Council, Her Excellency Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, a very important person who heads the Advisory Council. I'm sure CEO will give you a lowdown of the Advisory Council as we go on. There's a very important group. So we're going to have two types of dialogues. The first is going to be the business and leaders dialogues, and then the second will be the presidential and leaders dialogues. So in all, 3 very important conversations are going to take place: breakfast meetings, business and policy leaders dialogues, and presidential and business leaders dialogues. Now, the thematic areas undergirding the premise of our theme, which is infrastructure this year, will provide a complete set of understandings on the importance of infrastructure development in the continental trade ecosystem. Our panels and sessions will seek to unpack such areas as funding, transport and logistics, sustainable energy, digital infrastructure, infrastructure development partners, social infrastructure. And we'll also have fireside chats, addresses, and presentations by very high-level personalities. Now, if you have been following the Africa Prosperity Network. We tend to break our dialogues into two parts. That is the intellectual part. The first one is the enabling pillar, and then the second would be the delivery. So the enabling pillar, of course, would be investment. And this time, we're going to be looking at the PPPs. The delivery pillars would look at two areas of infrastructure: hard infrastructure and soft infrastructure. Hard infrastructure being energy, housing, transport, agriculture. Soft being ICT, healthcare, education, sports, culture, and tourism, and of course, legal. We're going to have a full spectrum approach. We're going to be looking at infrastructure in the gap, really. So the funding gap really is the $100 billion. And that is something that we're going to be looking at with presentations by the AFCFTA Director for Trade in Services, Investment, IPR, and Digital Trade. And we're also going to be having a context setting by a Vice President from the African Development Bank. And it will be moderated by the UN Resident Coordinator, His Excellency Charles Abani. So this is a very important panel to begin the program. Movement within the region and making it a reality. This will be addressing gaps in transports and logistics. And you would, for those of you who have worked, beat journalists who have worked on infrastructure across the region, you would be aware that the cost of infrastructure, the cost of intra-Africa, serious inefficiency in our infrastructure across the region. We also have problems with visas and connections where someone leaving Algeria would have to go to France in order to connect to the UK and then go to, sometimes South Africa and then connect back to Zimbabwe. So it's very hectic. And we all heard Dangote some time back complain that he's a big investor, and to go around Africa, he needs visas to go around. And that is something that we seek to address as well. Day accessible, affordable, sustainable energy solutions for Africa. You heard my wonderful colleague here, Nanaya, talk about efforts being made in Ethiopia, for instance, for the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, which can power the whole of East Africa. Why don't we look at a regional collaboration that will make this happen? We're looking at, South Africa, where after apartheid, a lot of people were plugged into the grid. And for that matter, there was a strain on the electricity grid. And so you all know that for years, there has been some power shedding in South Africa. So why don't we talk to DRC, which has plans for the Inga Dam, which can power the whole of Africa, so that the two can collaborate? The entire region can collaborate, because South Africa has the wherewithal to make this happen. We're going to move to the next panel, which talks about digital infrastructure, leveraging digital infrastructure, innovation and technology to connect Africa. We know that by 2035, I think about 300 million more people in Africa would need to be connected to the internet. And with a growth of interoperability of payments across Africa, something that we worked on last year, we pushed really hard. We went to the AU, as you heard Nanaya say, and we are going to push it as a policy proposal at the AU level. You can talk to the CEO when we're done. You can interview him on that. He will give you some details on that, or you can call our offices for more details on that. So this is very important. Digital systems are going to allow for payments. You're in Ghana, you can buy in Nigeria with your Ghana cedis. The Nigerian can buy in Liberia with his Naira. The Liberian can buy in Zimbabwe with her Liberian dollars, and so forth and so forth. And for this, the context setting is going to be done by the CEO of PAPS, that is the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System. It's relevant that we have a person of his caliber to give us the context setting. And the moderation is going to be done by Samuel Amano, who is CEO of Blue Space Africa Technologies. We move on to the next, which will be the role of Africa's infrastructure development partners. They are very important. So we're talking about the multilateral financial institutions who have been very instrumental to the infrastructure development across Africa. And so when data shows that poor infrastructure shrinks national growth by 2 percentage points and slows business productivity by a whopping 40%, it becomes a concern for the continent. And so we're going to have a representative from Ghana, we're going to have a representative from China, a representative from Japan, and this will be moderated by Tanisha Tego. It's a very important discussion we're going to be having on that. We will have finally a panel on building the Africa we want, and that will talk about social infrastructure. The built environment matters, cities, as it were. So Africa's urban population has been growing at a very high rate, alarmingly so. From 27% in 1950, we went to 40% in 2015. And by 2050, it's projected to reach 60%. This means that there is going to be a lot of strain on urban infrastructure. And this is very important. I mean, the statistics do come from the United Nations Economic and Social Affairs. So this is going to be moderated by Nanaya Mensah, who's seated on my right-hand side. Professor Boateng will give takeaways for the Summit of Heads of State and Business Leaders for the next day. And so that's basically what we are looking at. We will have fireside chats on the third day, and these are going to feature a lot of very, very important personalities. So basically, this is how the panels and the dialogues are structured. So I would like to thank you very much. If I've not wasted, I've not taken about 2 more minutes of your time. All right, thank you.
2 more minutes well worth spent. You'll know from the sound of that it's a packed program. And as Prince Moses was saying there, information asymmetries, which is where you, our fellow journalists, well, my fellow journalists really do come in. It's so important how the African infrastructure narrative is reshaped, reformed, and how the story is told to the outside world so that it isn't always working on the basis of misinformation. Next up, telling us, we heard about the what. Now we're going to hear a little bit about the who is involved in the program, courtesy of Stéphanie Diatta, who is our head of partnerships at APN. Stéphanie.
Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour. Merci beaucoup. Thank you, Prince. I will try to be shorter. So thank you for coming. So this year's Dialogues promise to be a transformative event. It brings together an extraordinary constellation of personalities whose goal is the realization of Africa's immense potential through the AFCFTA, the largest free trade area in the world. So in a showcase of leadership and expertise, the dialogues are set to welcome 46 countries, with 7 heads of state already confirmed. From across Africa and the Caribbean, these leaders are uniting to discuss the strategic solution that transcend borders. Among them, we are thrilled to confirm the participation of high-profile dignitaries, including Mesfin Tassou, the Group CEO of Ethiopian Airlines, a leader whose vision has propelled African aviation into the global stage. Ambassador Bridget Motsepe, a prominent advocate for Africa economic empowerment. His Excellency Dr. Abdulhamid Al Khalifa, President of the OPEC Fund. Dr. Sidi Uta, President of BADEA. His Excellency Dr. Amani Asfour, President of Africa Business Council. Modamouche, Group CEO of Telecel Group. Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Chairperson of Africa Prosperity Network Advisory Council. Of course, our core-partner, the AFCFTA, His Excellency the Secretary General Kele Mene, and other prominent personalities. So in total, we expect over 3,000 participants representing the full spectrum of stakeholders, including young and women entrepreneurs, redefining the innovation and inclusivity across sectors. So we will also welcome leaders in digital technology, agribusiness, manufacturing, real estate development, construction, and shipping. There will be executives from the aviation, the transport, logistic, and telecommunication industries. We will also see global financiers, multilateral financial institutions, bankers, and investors. Of course, also thought leaders, including academics, civil society organizations, and Minister of States, traditional rulers, European Commission executive, and regional bloc representative will also be present. In the area of media representation, leading international media houses such as CNN, Bloomberg, Cleopatra Media, CNBC and Forbes, All Africa, and of course, you will be amplifying the voices of African success stories. The session, the panels, and networking opportunities have been carefully curated to ensure participants leave not just inspired, but empowered with the tools and connection to make a difference. With participants from the public and private sectors, academia, media, and development organizations, APD 2025 offers unparalleled networking opportunities. Attendees will engage in high-level discussions, forge partnership, and secure investment that will propel projects and policy forward. Thank you for your time and interest, and we look forward to welcoming you to the Africa Prosperity Dialogues 2025.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. That's Stephanie Jetta, our Head of Partnerships and International Relations. As you've heard there, it's a very impressive array of people who will be turning up on the day. Equally impressive on the third day of our program, on the 1st of February, preceding the Africa Prosperity Champions Awards, which you'll hear about shortly, we have our presidential and business executives and leaders forums, which will be, as you might imagine, very high-profile, high-level discussions between all visiting heads of state and government who will be present at APD 2025. So far, I believe we have expectations that there's 7 heads of state visiting, and we continue to receive confirmations, and business leaders, among them some of the figures Stephanie mentioned, highly ranking executives from the African Development Bank, from BADEA, one of our chief partners, from all the senior business executives essentially will be invited to take part in that executive dialogue on the third day, which will precede some more social activity and partying, let's put it, into the evening. So more on that. If people have particular questions about the executive dialogues, please, there'll be the chance after the briefing for more one-on-one questioning. But now let's turn to, she doesn't like to be called a professor, but indeed she is. Tonisha Tego, who is our lead on breakfast meetings and trade, will tell us a little bit about the APD 2025 breakfast meeting series, which will be happening on the first day of APD 2025, the 30th of January. Tonisha.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I hope I'll speak slow enough today. I've been very reminded not to speak too fast. But yeah, it's an extreme honor and privilege actually to share the exciting developments around the Africa Prosperity Dialogues 2025 with you today, and especially the expanded breakfast meeting series. This series represents a pivotal moment in our collective journey towards ensuring Africa's economic growth, sustainability, and prosperity. So why breakfast meetings? Well, this year marks the third edition of the Africa Prosperity Dialogues, and with it, an expansion of our events. As part of our continuous efforts to enhance dialogues and drive actionable outcomes, we've actually elevated the side events that we usually run alongside the normal schedule in the past and given them their own dedicated programming on the morning of day one, which is the 30th of January 2025. And this will be happening from 8:30 a.m. till 12 p.m. These breakfast meetings will serve as a platform for key discussions where we'll explore the most pressing issues facing our continent and formulate strategies that will shape Africa's future for years to come. This is why the breakfast meetings will delve into 6 distinct sessions, covering topics that are crucial for our long-term prosperity. These include female entrepreneurship, housing, payments, youth, public-private partnerships, venture capital, and private equity. I'll now walk you through brief overviews of each of the breakfast meetings. Starting with female entrepreneurship. The World Bank estimates that digital technologies could add 300 billion to Africa's economy by 2025, with over 500 million mobile phone users already enabling digital access across the continent. Yet, only 30% of African entrepreneurs actually have access to digital financing, and less than 10% have access to digital literacy programs. This creates significant barriers to scaling their businesses. Female entrepreneurs are poised to lead the transformation, but as we all know, gender disparities in technology access and digital literacy continues to hinder their progress. The breakfast meeting titled Scaling Your Business Through Strategic Technology Investments, led by the Ladies Entrepreneurship Club, will cover the following topics: leveraging technology to scale operations and enhance business productivity, overcoming barriers to digital literacy and capital access for female entrepreneurs, with the goals and objectives of the session being to equip female entrepreneurs with the tools and strategies to leverage technology for business growth and promote access to capital and digital tools for scaling businesses. When we move on to housing, as urbanization continues to rise rapidly across Africa, addressing the actual housing deficit becomes critical to sustainable development. Shelter Afrique Development Bank plays a vital role in unlocking financing for affordable housing and sustainable urban development, which directly supports UN's SDG 11. This organization collaborates with banks, developers, and policy institutions to ensure that African cities are equipped with affordable housing. Therefore, the meeting titled Unlocking Finance and Housing and Urban Development, hosted by Shelter Afrique Development Bank, will cover the following key topics: mobilizing finance for affordable and sustainable housing, sustainable urbanization as a driver of economic integration, and public-private partnerships for housing finance, with the goals and objectives of the session being to identify strategies for unlocking finance for housing projects across Africa, and to explore innovative financial models to address the housing deficit. In terms of payments, cross-border payments have long been a barrier to regional trade within Africa as well. According to the World Bank, the inefficiency in the current payment systems is a significant obstacle to intra-Africa trade. The Pan-African Payment and Settlement System addresses these challenges by enabling seamless payments in local currencies, which enhances the AfCFTA's potential. PAPS plays a crucial role in improving trade flows across the continent, reducing the cost of doing business and fostering financial inclusion by streamlining payment systems for businesses involved in cross-border trade. The breakfast meeting titled Accelerating AfCFTA's Implementation Through Payments, Leveraging PAPS for Enhanced Cross-Border Trade in Africa, will cover these key topics, specifically the role of PAPS in reducing cross-border payments and exploring the impact of PAPS on trade under AfCFTA. with the goals and objectives of the session being to showcase how PAPS supports financial integration within Africa and to discuss the role of PAPS in exploring potential benefits for businesses and economies. In terms of youth, SMEs account for approximately 90% of businesses in Africa, contributing significantly to job creation and economic growth. The African Union has emphasized the importance of infrastructure for enabling the success of these businesses, particularly for young entrepreneurs who face challenges such as access to capital, digital connectivity, and reliable infrastructure. The breakfast meeting session titled Bridging Infrastructure Gaps to Empower Young Entrepreneurs for Africa's Prosperity is run by the Ghana Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs and will cover the following topics: identifying infrastructure challenges faced by young African entrepreneurs and the role of infrastructure in scaling businesses, with the goal being to identify actionable solutions to bridge infrastructure gaps for young entrepreneurs and to discuss policies that support youth-led businesses in Africa. In terms of infrastructure, as infrastructure development remains one of the most critical barriers to economic growth across Africa, the need for innovative funding models has never been more urgent. ASME Ventures is addressing this gap by building robust funding frameworks that support both emerging and established infrastructure projects, therefore unlocking economic opportunities, job creation, and sustainable development across the continent. Their meeting, titled Exploring Venture Capital and Private Equity Funding Models, will cover infrastructure, with the following key topics: unlocking private sector investment for infrastructure projects in Africa, and analyzing the role of venture capital and private equity in filling this financing gap, with the goals being to discuss the role of venture capital and private equity in driving innovation, and again, to identify actionable strategies to foster private-public partnerships for infrastructure development. Speaking of public-private partnerships, the FCFTA has the potential to boost intra-Africa trade by removing tariffs and trade barriers. However, its success hinges on the strong public-private partnerships that can provide the necessary infrastructure and support systems. Africa Law Practice International is at the forefront of driving PPP initiatives, facilitating investments in infrastructure and technology to accelerate the AFCFTA's implementation. The breakfast meeting, titled Powering Trade for AFCFTA Rollout, is organized by Africa Law Practice International and covers the role of public-private partnerships in facilitating the AFCFTA's success, the importance of infrastructure in enabling intra-African trade, and addressing barriers to cross-border trade in Africa, with the goals of the session being to discuss how PPPs can enhance trade and infrastructure for AFCFTA. We hope that participants will leave these breakfast meetings with clear insights into the challenges and opportunities that Africa is facing, with strategic connections with key stakeholders, business leaders, policymakers, and innovators, and with some actionable solutions that they can actually implement in their businesses and governments across Africa. We encourage all of you to register for these sessions early. Full details are available on the Africa Prosperity Dialogues website. For those of you who've already registered for the dialogues, the link to register has been sent to you by email. For those interested but not yet registered, please do complete the registration process for both the main conference and the breakfast meetings that you would like to attend, and space is limited for these high-demand breakfast meetings. Let's ensure that we leverage this platform to create tangible outcomes and strategies that will move the needle on Africa's prosperity. Thank you all for your attention. I look forward to seeing you there.
Well, breakfast meetings, I'm sure, unlike any that you've previously attended, lots of meat in there: youth, women, PPPs, affordable housing. It's all in there. You'll learn an awful lot by attending one of these sessions, open to all participants in APD 2025. Now, alongside the Africa Prosperity Dialogues in years past, we've usually had a trade exhibition, but this year we have a trade exhibition like one we've not had before. And here to tell us a little bit about that, the Projet Afrique exhibition, Ashley Asenso, our lead on protocol. Ashley.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the media. Thank you very much, Nanaya. My name is Ashley Asenso, and I'm in charge of protocol at the Africa Prosperity Network. And I'll speak to you very briefly about the Projet Afrique exhibition. So this exhibition, as Nanaya mentioned, is a one-of-a-kind exhibition. Previously, we did have exhibitions. However, They were just limited to our partners and our sponsors. But we kept getting feedback from most of our participants asking that we open it up and make it more diverse for more people to come in and exhibit what they have to offer. So we listened, and as a secretariat, we came up with Projet Afrique. So another thing that is new to us this year is that Projet Afrique is open to the general public. So you don't have to be a participant of the Africa Prosperity Dialogues. You can just walk straight in and then enter the exhibition grounds and then have the experience. So we are expecting to host families, students, anybody. You can leave work, come, and then come and experience the exhibition as well. So it's going to run through for the entirety of the dialogues from the 30th to the 1st of February. And there'll be a short opening ceremony with our distinguished guests on Thursday, the 30th at 9 a.m. And then right after, it's open to the general public. It's also at the conference center, the Accra International Conference Center, and it's on the left side. So if you know where the flags are, we're building a very, very big tent over there to host all our exhibitors and the products that they'll be exhibiting. It's divided into 4 main sections and 4 main sectors. So the first is the arts, culture, and fashion. The second is the agribusiness. We will have exhibitors from the technology and engineering sector as well. And then finally, the automobile sector. We also want to note that it's all products that are being exhibited are made in Africa or assembled in Africa, as is the case for the automobile industry. We also have the Projet Afrique catalog, which is available on our website at www.africaprosperitynetwork.com. So it has all the information on all the exhibitors, all the products that they'll be exhibiting on the day, so that you have prior information and then you prepare yourself to come and then purchase from our exhibitors as well. Finally, we have very, very few booths left. So if you're interested in exhibiting your products, please send an email to protocol@africaprosperity.network or give us a call at the secretariat and we'll be able to assist you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Ashley Asenso, lead on protocol at the Africa Prosperity Network there. And as she said, all the goods that will be on display at the Projet Afrique exhibition, made in Africa or assembled in Africa. Well worth checking out. And yes, you might want, as she said, to just trot along there, even if you're not attending or you haven't got the time to sit and listen to a full briefing or panel. You can even go during your lunch hour, go and see what there is on display there. I think you'll find lots of colourful and interesting materials that will interest you. And now to give us a little peek at the glamorous end of APD 2025, the final day, the 1st of February, will end in the Africa Prosperity Champions Awards and a presidential gala dinner. Here to tell us a little bit about that, Jessie Ejipong, consultant at APN Secretariat. Jessie.
Thank you very much, moderator, and to the members of the press once again. Really appreciate you being here. I'm excited that the word that was thrown at me is a glamorous part of the event. After the very detailed investment conversation, we get to celebrate our champions in Africa. I have one reflection for the Africa Prosperity Champions Award. And this reflection is based on a speech that was delivered by the former president, Thabo Mbeki, of South Africa, when he delivered a famous speech, "I am an African." And I want to curl out a statement from that to set the tone for what we should expect on the 3rd day. He said that I am born of a people who are heroes and heroines, patient because history is on their side. These masses do not despair because today the weather is bad, nor do they turn triumphalist when tomorrow the sun shines. Whether the circumstances they have lived through, and because of that experience, they are determined to define for themselves who they are and who they should be. In my view, the essence of this statement is an African who doesn't give up, one who dreams, one who commits, one who strides, and one who pushes the continent further. And that is the essence for what we are calling APCA. Over the past years, we've celebrated some of the most phenomenal, impactful Africans, and we are doing the same this year. The basis for our celebration is not built in static thinking. We don't pick the same categories and reward them every year. The awards are given based on the circumstances and exigencies and what's happening across the continent. But most importantly, some of the things that we look out for on the continent are, one, visionary leadership and the impact of the individuals. Number two, we're looking out for individuals who are contributing strongly to Pan-African development. Number three, we're looking for individuals who are driven by innovation and transformation. Number four, we're looking for individuals who are guided by sustainability and long-term impact in Africa. Number five, we're looking at ethical leadership and governance. And number four, we're looking at sectorial excellence. I'm excited to say that if you reference last year's awards, this year's awards, the proposed awards look very different and they're very distinct. And some of the proposed awards that you might experience on the last day dinner include the following. One, the Lifetime Achievement Award in Business and Media Excellence. Two, Distinguished Entrepreneurial Leadership Award. Three, Africa Education and Empowerment Champion Award. Four, Philanthropic Leadership Award. Five, Excellence in Corporate Social Responsibility. Six, Visionary Leadership in Emerging Markets. And seven, Trailblazer in African Economic Development Award. Again, the point must be made that there's a special award for this year, which is the posthumous award. It will be given to one of Africa's most celebrated tech minds. And I think it's someone that once you come for the event or you follow the event, the announcement is made, you'll be super excited about. The event is the last day, I think it's the 1st of February, 2025. And on that evening, we would celebrate the champions of Africa with one thing underpinning it, that tomorrow's leaders will learn from today's leaders. And I thank you very much.
Thank you very much there, Jesse Ajipong, for that glimpse of the Africa Prosperity Champions Awards, which will be happening on the final day of APD 2025. I believe Rui Pedro Afonso Livramento now will have to leave our press briefing. He has a prior engagement, but our great thanks to you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Unfortunately, we have an activity, secretary activity. I think it's one of the biggest activities that we have during the year. Is a retreat. It's outside of town, and that requires us to, of course, be on top of things and leave as soon as we can because of the long journey that we have ahead. Thank you very much for allowing me to come and share a common vision, and I hope to work closely in the next couple of days towards the APD. So thank you very much.
Great thanks to Rui Pedro Afonso Livramento, Chief of Staff here at the AFCFTA Secretariat, as he leaves us for that prior engagement. And yes, we wish you the best with your preparations for that key event in the year. Now, of course, another thing that will be happening on the last day of APD 2025, on the 1st of February, will be the presidential gala dinner, which I think was another occasion that you might want to look out for. And indeed, on the final day, we're expecting some important funding agreements even to be signed at APD 2025. It will also be an occasion for a very special panel where, as an African continent and the Africa Club, we say goodbye to three of the key players on this continent, the big three. It's a coincidence, but this year the heads of the African Development Bank, BADEA, the Arab Bank for African Development, and Afrexim Bank are all bowing out. And so we'll be having a special conversation with all three bigwigs who will be present at APD 2025. Part of the program I think you won't want to miss. But now the key bit, because of course you as journalists have to know about the arrangements for the day and how it's all going to happen. And the two people who are making all the backroom work possible are Priscilla Amprichum, our lead on admin and logistics, and Ashley Asenso, our lead on protocol. So now with a little bit about the protocol information, the on-site arrangements, and all the 411, let's turn to our two ladies.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Priscilla Amprichum, and I'm in charge of logistics and administration at the Africa Prosperity Network. I will be taking you through the logistics briefing for the Africa Prosperity Dialogues 2025. The important summit areas to note are the main hall, where the main dialogues will take place for all the 3 days. We have 4 meeting rooms, which will be the venue for our breakfast meetings, as earlier mentioned by Dr. Tanisha. The main foyer, the exhibition area, the registration area, the food court area. There will be a media tent, washroom areas, and then the health and emergency bay. There will be directional signs at vantage points for easy navigation of the summit venue. I'll now give you the details for the important areas. The first area is the registration and tagging. The registration and tagging area for the APD 2025 will be at the center of the exhibition area. Already registered participants are to check in and pick up their tags at the registration area. Participants who are yet to register can equally register on site and get their tags at the same location. All participants are to ensure that they have their tags on as long as they are on the summit premises for easy identification and orderliness. For catering, there will be a cocoa break station at the right-hand side of the foyer for all participants during cocoa breaks for all summit days. Also, this year, we've made a new addition to our summits, to the summits allocations. This year, we'll be having a food court. For convenience and proximity, a well-equipped food court with variety of meals will be available for purchase during lunch hour. For a taste of Ghana, make sure you visit the APD 2024 food court. On transportation, all participants lodging at the recommended hotels on the APD 2025 event guide, which is on our website, will be bussed from their respective hotels to the summit venue each day. At the main foyer, you will see or take notice of our partner and business lounges. There will also be an experience area and then a photo wall as well. The media tent. The media tent will be equipped with tables and chairs to facilitate the work of media personnel. It would be right before you enter the main entrance of the AICC on your right-hand side. All media accreditation, registration, and enquiries should go through Mr. Wilberforce Asare. Mobile washrooms. There will be mobile washrooms situated behind the exhibition area for convenience. Health and emergencies. There will be a stationed ambulance on the summit grounds to cater for any health-related emergencies that may happen. Visa on arrival has been provided for all participants coming into Ghana from the various countries. The Africa Prosperity Champions Awards and Presidential Gala Dinner is truly by invitation. There will be no admission without an invitation. We look forward to hosting you at the Africa Prosperity Dialogues 2025. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you, Priscilla. Priscilla and Prichum, our head of logistics and admin there, makes the APD 2025 setup sound like a place you just want to go and hang out just for the heck of it. And for the purposes of our media personnel, as she said, the media tent there crucially for all visiting journalists just to the right of the entrance to AICC and should be fully equipped with all the facilities that you need. If you have any questions about particular setup or particular needs that you need sorted before the event, please talk to Wilberforce Asare, our media relations manager. Any requests for pre-event interviews, likewise, you can always ask Wilberforce Asare. I believe most of you here will have his details. If you don't, please see any of us and the APN team, and we'll be happy to provide those. So just to let people know, to reiterate what Priscilla said there, a lot of the information to do with the Africa Prosperity Dialogues this year is freely available on our website, which is, of course, Africa Prosperity Network, all as one word, .com. You'll find a lot of information there. And as Tanisha was saying, the all-important registration buttons. Make sure you register. If you're interested in the breakfast meetings, make sure you indicate a special interest in coming to those on the first day of the dialogues, which will be this very Thursday. So we started a little bit late, as you all know, because we were just pausing while Rui Pedro Afonso Livramento joined us. He was very much tied up in business. So I think we can run a little bit later than intended to allow those of you who have questions that you might want to put to members of the APN team. We're here, so take advantage of us. Anybody who has questions from the floor, please put your hand up and we'll give you the floor to address any of our members. We have Sadiq Farouk Eltum, our CEO here, Prince Moses, the head of our communications directorate, Stephanie Jetta, in charge of international partnerships, Professor Tanisha Tago, who's our lead on breakfast meetings. You heard from Jessie Ajapong, who's a consultant to the APN Secretariat. And we also have Ashley Asenso, our lead on protocol, and Priscilla Amprichum, you heard from earlier on. Any questions from the floor? Don't be shy. About 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sadiq, you wanted to say something. I suppose the question, while we're waiting for people to make their minds up, I'm not sure anybody's got their hand up quite yet. The question on my mind was this particular focus on infrastructure. We so flashed through the information that maybe it didn't hit home completely. But maybe if I could ask you, Sadiq, about the focus on infrastructure. Why the idea of social infrastructure and digital infrastructure as parts of the conversation?
I think we are more clear on digital infrastructure, that people are more familiar with it, because as you can all see nowadays, the African continent is moving towards more of a digital sphere. But the most important thing I think is going to happen is also a follow-up from last year, when we had the interoperability was presented by Ghana president in the AU, and the document was presented to the AU to take more further steps. But when it comes to social infrastructure, people here encapsulate very important things for Africans, which is the let's say the issues around health, the issues around education. Those are what encapsulated under this discussion. But also the technology brings in also the more of participation, more of activeness from youth who are involved. But I trust Tunisia here has presented a bit of more information about our partner PAPs who are let's say, taking the lead into this. But yes, I think there is more and more to be unfolded. I think during the webinar also we touched on those things.
The webinar, for those of you who missed it, happened last week, Wednesday, but I believe the footage of that is available online, Connecting Africa Through Infrastructure. You'll find some very interesting discussions we had there relating to all aspects of infrastructure, including the one that we Ghanaians are fondest of, roads. We love roads and we want more roads. We have an endless thirst for roads. There will be more on roads, indeed, during APD 2025. But as Sidig was saying there, also the types of infrastructure that we don't normally think of as infrastructure, the hospitals, indeed, even the schools, the undersea cables. You never realize the importance of these bits of infrastructure until they go wrong, as they did spectacularly last year. So I think the discussions around expanding digital infrastructure, we know MTN is building its Baobab network at the moment, which should vastly expand connectivity across the African continent. There are various other initiatives, talk of expansion of the Equiano undersea cable facility, and so on. Some of you may have a particular interest in those discussions. But please, this is your time for questions. So any questions from the floor? Yes.
Thank you very much. My name is Musa Lansa with the EIB Network. In all the discussions, recently we have a breakaway faction of the West African sub-region, that's the Sahel Group. Africa Prosperity Dialogues, this year, are we considering getting them involved in the conversation, since we are looking at a way of bridging that gap and the infrastructure gap? Most of them, even from Ghana to Togo to Burkina Faso, you need these people to participate in that. Have we considered these people in our conversation this year?
The short answer is yes. We've extended the invitations to these people and for all the relevant people that you've mentioned, and hopefully we will have representation and confirmation. But for further details, I transfer this to Prince, who can give you first.
Thank you very much. So this is not an issue. This is the Africa Prosperity Network. As long as they are Africans, they belong here. It's their home. So it's not an issue with us. It's the Africa Prosperity Network, and we're for Africans.
I hope that answers your question.
Though not fully satisfied, especially so that they've withdrawn from the sub-regional bodies. Convincing them is another issue. And if you look at where we are positioned, especially Ghana, traveling through to other parts of the continent by road is becoming more difficult, especially because of the security concerns. So convincing them to come is another thing. Extending an invitation is one thing, but are we working to add their block to the AFC, FTA, and then the Africa Prosperity Network? Thank you.
Well, I think some of the political complications of the financing of infrastructure, and indeed the presence of some of our guests in town, will be very much under or part of the discussions at APD. But Ashley, you might want to say something about that. Ashley Asenso.
Yes, I can confirm that we have registrations from these countries, and they will be sending their representatives as well. So it's no need to worry. There's representation from there. Thank you.
Another question, I believe, from the back. Someone had their hand up earlier. Or perhaps that was covered earlier on in... Sorry, Sidig.
Perhaps we gave you enough information, but as the coming days move, we will continue as we have been working with you closely to share all the information, or especially about the arrivals of the presidents who are coming. So we will share those information with you, and also we'll give further details on the APCA awards. Thank you very much for coming here today and for being patient for this long briefing. Thank you.
Thanks to Sadiq there. Just to reinforce the point, we're expecting in excess of 3,000 people to take part in APD 2025, and the numbers keep on going up every day. This is the biggest event that we've had in the 3-year series. We're very pleased that there has been such interest. 3,000 plus visitors from 46 countries. I believe Stephanie was saying in Team Talk yesterday, that's nearly double the number of countries we had for APD 2024. So it's going to be a big event. Indeed, one president just announced to us last night that he was arriving with a delegation of 16 people. 16. So you can imagine the number of visitors to Ghana over the period is going to be really significant. We're going to have lots of African friends in town. We're going to make them very welcome, and I hope use the opportunity as journalists also to form links with them so that we have, if you like, peers we can correspond with regularly in other countries. But I think if there are no more immediate urgent questions, we'll call the press briefing to a halt today, just to remind all of you present that if you have requests for pre-event interviews or any kinds of follow-ups on today's press briefing, questions that you weren't quite able to address here, you can get in touch with Wilberforce Asare, our media relations manager. His phone number's 024 438 7050. Or some of you may have an 020 number for him as well. Don't hesitate to get in touch or to speak to any of us after the briefing. Thanks to Sadiq El-Tub, CEO of the Africa Prosperity Network, and to all our contributors this morning. Feel free to talk to us on the way out of the briefing. Thanks very much for your time and your attention.